alive, right? So, my name is Metaphora, as you've guessed from the title of the panel. I hope you're all doing well. And it's my first time streaming, so I'm hella nervous. So I have a cherry liquor with me. Hope it will help my courage today. So, hello again. I'm Molly Metaphora, a filmmaker and a fashion enthusiast. I live in Russia. And if you don't believe that I'm both, here I have a proof for you. That's me. I've titled them up so you can so you don't miss the idea. So this is why this is how I look at the meetup and on set of my last, but hopefully not least, film. So it's a very tricky situation to be a Lolita who is making films. My fellow filmmakers don't take Lolita fashion seriously, and my Lolita friends, they are utterly unimpressed by my attempts to turn them into movie stars. So that's awkward. And Lolita audience is wanting some memes and fun stuff about frills, while the general audience is usually like, what are you? What are you people? Why everyone has such big bumps? So that's how it is in my creative life. So, well, as every filmmaker knows, it's better show but not tell. And let me show you one of my oldest works. Can we please have a clip of Lolita musical to show that I'm actually filming something?
Any chord you can make, I can make better.
Okay, that was it. That was one of my best works and the most best reviewed and highly rated of my works among the most sophisticated critics on planet Earth that are obviously YouTube audience. And that's all I want to say. Hey, bye. Just kidding. That's not everything, of course, because that was filmed in 2013. At that time, I was already filming for a couple of years. And do you remember it was an era of YouTube, Lolita YouTube, when Lovely Lore and G-Stock Pictures were making their iconic works. And I was making films or videos like this because I was really interested in more cinematic prospects, in storytelling, not just sketching or showcasing something. So my first film was made in, I think, 2011, and all of it started in 2010 when the first Gothic and Lolita festival in Moscow appeared. It was a huge event by that time because it's the first time when Lolitas were gathering for something bigger than just tea party or picnic. And everyone was so excited, and there was a nomination. And we in Russia have contests at our events. So there was a video contest, and I decided why not participate in this. I made a video. Well, not technically me, but I dressed up and asked a friend who is a camera person to film everything. And I think it was mostly the camera person's uh, job, work, everything that happened in this video, because I just was pretty and was standing in the frame, and the editing and the filming was made by that person. I'm not sure if she'll see this broadcast, but if you see Veronica, hi. So the video turned out nice, and I decided, why not do something else? Everyone seems to like it, so why not? Then at 2011, we had a student competition in our university. It was some sort of silly student film contest as well, but I've started kind of directing. It wasn't really scripted and well thought setup, but somehow I had a chance to try and direct people, and I enjoyed. I thought, wow, if I can make people do some stuff in front of the camera and it turns out pretty fun, why not do this again? And for the next years, Gothic and Lolita Festival, I've decided to make a better and bigger project to have a proper story and with better control over the story. So I've decided to make a short film. And since I was a complete newbie in filmmaking, I made a very wise decision. I've decided that we won't have dialogues and we won't have sound recording on set, and we better have a song. I wrote the lyrics and found a band that kindly agreed to participate. I doubt that they will see this, but Splinters of Thoughts, hi. If you remember me, I remember you. So we made a song, and it was a very good decision because, you can very much tell when there is a professional video and when there is not professional by sound, because sound is crucial for filmmaking. And even if you watch some leaked trailers from Comic-Cons, there is a very squeezed sort of picture, but you still hear that the sound was recorded professionally, it mixed professionally, and it's very nice sound. And there are also student films or, well, YouTube bloggers who have that amazing 4K quality videos, and then they're talking like, that's the difference. So we didn't have a sound and we didn't have dialogues, but we had a song. And we filmed everything. It took like several days. It was a huge amount of time to invest into something like just a 5-minute film. That's what I thought at that time. Now I spent quite a lot more time to make a short film. So that's how the film happened. And when I presented it at Gothic and Lolita Festival, it was just a surreal moment for me. My world have changed because I was sitting in a dark room full of people and with a large screen, and all the people, all the audience and the hosts and everyone in the room were watching what basically I had in my head for some period of time. So when you can project your thoughts, your pictures, your images from your head to the screen, I can't explain it. It's just a new world. So I decided that I I need to go further. I need to practice more. I need to do more films. Well, and the weird thing, even I didn't have any experience in editing. I didn't have any experience in proper directing, but still the audience got this feeling, this vibe. They've got the idea of the story and they felt for the characters. And this is an amazing feeling. And I think the story that I wrote there is probably one of the best stories that I've ever made. And script wise, it's one of my best works. So let me show it to you now. Can we please have a clip of Ballad of Luck? That's the title of the film.
В одном поселенье вдали от двора знахарка жила, молода, но мудра. Умела она все недуги свести, удачу привлечь и беду отвести. Однажды в селение принц пришел, знахарку средь жителей он отыскал. В столице мятеж, он короны лишен и просит дать средства спасти его трон. Не ведаешь ты, о чем просишь, юнец, езжай восвоясь, разговору конец. Врагов, чтобы сгнать, ничего мне не жаль, напиток удачи и силы мне дай. Что ж, пусть будет так, но пеняй на себя, тебе эликсир приготовлю в 3 дня. Идет день за днем, принц в селенье живет, а зелье кипит, час разлуки грядет. Все готово, долг принца зовет, из рук у знахарки сосуд он берет. С тоскою в душе не отводит он глаз и слышит из уст ее строгий наказ. В любом добром деле тебя ждет успех, но зелье хранит и в секрете от всех. Коль тайну раскроешь, о счастье забудь, и тотчас же принц отправляется в путь. Потекли, как вода, но вдруг в поселении случилась беда. Разбойники смели в селение прийти, приказ главаря им знахарку найти. Хитра атаманша и жаждет спросить, как зелье удачи в 3 дня получить. Но, слыша в ответ непреклонный отказ, знахаркин дом банда обыщет тот час. Ворвались туда только что за напасть, нигде нет напитка и нечего красть. И в яростной злобе команда дана селение сжечь и разграбить дома. Разбойщини банда прочь унеслась, а утром чуть только заря занялась. В селении юный юноша наш прискакал, знахарке корону в подарок он взял. Приблизился к дому король молодой, и что же увидел он перед собой? Распластано тело на темной земле, вокруг лишь развалины в пепельной мгле. Вздохнула знахарка, открыла глаза, по бледной щеке прокатилась слеза и молвила слабо: не смей же забыть, удачи и счастья нельзя приманить.
Yep. So that was it. If you didn't get the Russian lyrics in the song, it's a story about a prince who was exiled because the riot happened in the capital city. So he heard about the how to say it, a lady who can make a magic potion that gives you a luck in every situation. So he came to that lady and asked her for this elixir, and she agreed on terms that he will be silent about that and won't tell anyone, because otherwise he won't be happy. He will be unhappy for rest of his life. And he tried his best, but didn't succeed. Well, he succeeded in returning his kingdom, but not returning to his love. That was the film that brought me into filmmaking, and to be honest, it was Lolita fashion that brought me into filmmaking, because I started from Lolita films, and this is probably why I don't switch to anything more serious in some people opinions, because I just like it. And there are plenty of other examples of Lolita fashion in films, like we all know Kamikaze Girls or Shimotsumo Monogatari. We have several animes where characters wearing Lolita, but it's not very common in Western media and Western culture. It's not surprising because Lolita is originated from Japan, but I think about 5 or maybe even 10 years ago, the fan base of Lolita fashion started to migrate from Japan to Western world, and some Chinese brands were starting to displace the Japanese brandos. And I think pretty much in every country now we have indie brands that are sometimes even better quality or better ideas than Japanese brands. So the fan base migrated, but the culture didn't. In my opinion, it's very weird. Probably because Lolita fashion is not a sexual fashion, it's kind of asexual, and the mainstream culture doesn't really get the idea of asexuality in fashion and the idea of feeling good wearing something and not trying to please anyone. That we all know that women are supposed to please men when they are wearing anything, and everyone supposed to please the so-called society, so to be appropriate. And this is why Lolitas are kind of lost in between everything, because we are well self-sufficient community and we don't really need strangers. We have closed groups on Facebook. We have a very nice cozy community, and it's very interesting because we've seen several celebrities wearing Lolita fashion, like Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, and by looking at them, we can see that this is just not as authentic or genuine when we are wearing Lolita. And why is this happening? Probably because they are wearing it as a costume. They don't take it seriously. They aren't passionate about that. They just heard of it and thought, that's interesting, let me try it, without getting involved in this fashion, without getting in touch with this fashion, without educating themselves for some period of time. And even before I got into Lolita, I had a very curious story, because I was an anime fan for a very long time, and I was drawing animes. We had a forum of artists. Some of them were real professional artists, like illustrators or animators. They were very skilled. And some people were like me, just normal people enjoying art and trying to share it with other people. So it was a very nice, cute community of artists who were sharing their experience and sharing their art. And one day, when I was checking that forum, I was contacted by a guy who said he's a student in filmmaking. He's studying directing, and he has an idea of a film, short student film, where he needs an animator drawing anime. And I was not a prof, and I'm not yet. It was an interesting suggestion to me. I thought, why not? Why can't I try it? I can't do it. I don't have skills, but I want to learn. So let's just try it. So I agreed to meet with him, and he told me the story behind this, the story of this film, the story inside this film. So the story was about a girl who was betrayed by her best friend. Her best friend took her boyfriend, or the guy that she loves. So she got disappointed in both men and women, and she started watching animes and drawing animes. And she got very asocial until the time when she got in college, and there was some handsome guy there who approached her and asked her out. But in fact, he was trying just to pick her up for one night stand. And she was very honest. She was very pure. When they talked, he learned a lot about her, and she decided, no, I'm not going to do what I've planned. I'm going to leave her. And she thought that she's not good enough. She is not deserving a boy. So she decided, because she was a virgin, she need to lose her virginity with chopsticks, like Japanese type of chopsticks. And when I heard this, I was like, but why? What's the point? Why? And I asked the director, are you an anime fan yourself? Are you a fan of Japanese culture? And she said, no. But I think it's very popular now. It's fashionable to be an anime fan. So let's put this topic in the film. And this is probably the problem with all of the mainstream culture trying to depict some communities or some social groups, they don't know much about that. They are not passionate about that. They think it's just fashionable, and they call it representation. When they put a random person from random, let's say, community, profession, social group into the film, and they are looking freaky, and that's funny. So that's a huge problem, because not many community members, let's say any community, willing to be represented. So Lolitas, I think, well, from my perspective, I don't really care if there'll be a Lolita in mainstream film. Like in Glee, there was an episode where Lolita appeared for like 2 seconds. Is it necessary for the plot? Was it really necessary? No. That's just a cameo that it was not bad, but why? What's the point? And we all, as members of the community, as members of social groups, we all want to be showed beautiful, and we all want to have a good example on screen. We want to have a role models for future generations, so showing that Lolitas are very normal, sane people. We all are, obviously. But on the other hand, we don't really want to watch real life on screen. Real life is boring. It doesn't have much drama. It doesn't have that much the extreme levels of emotion. That's why we watch films. We can share the extreme emotions that we don't necessarily feel in real life. We can live lives of other people that we won't necessarily be able to meet in real life. Like there is this popular series on Netflix called The Crown about the royal family, and none of us will be able to meet the royal family. We don't know what exactly they feel, what exactly they say. But it's interesting to imagine. It's interesting to watch that. It's entertaining. So there is always a thin line between the realistic representation, realistic imaginary of social groups, and the extremes that make the film entertaining, that make everything interesting. So this is the challenge that I personally meet in my works, to have a degree of everything of this. And there are certainly some examples in modern culture, in Western modern culture, that have about the same vibes as Lolita community has. And they are not necessarily connected to dresses, or they are not necessarily about girly stuff. One of the examples is the movie called Kingsman. I'm sure you all know about that. It's a spy movie, and when it came out in 2015, if I'm not mistaken, I didn't want to watch it. I think I was raised on James Bond films, and I think spy movies are so overdue. They are so all the same. They're not very interesting to me. But my friends from Les Miserables community, fan group of Victor Hugo, they told me that you need to see this. You need to see this film. You will like it. And say, oh, okay, if you want me, I'll go to the cinema. I'll watch this film. So I did. And when I was at the cinema, I was sitting like all the the time of the film, I was just, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. If you imagine this exact situation, this exact film, without weapons, without fightings, without, well, intellectual property sort of fiction, then it's a Lolita community in a nutshell, basically. There are so many similarities, there are so many parallels. Like, we all love fancy clothes, we love fancy food, but sometimes we eat McDonald's. We all love booze, and we are everyone, well, maybe not everyone, but a lot of Lolitas are a little bit snobbish towards the lower class people, like normies. We're like, that's not our type of people. We prefer our closed society. So it was the very same vibe that we have in our communities. Well, maybe not always, but there is certainly, to a certain degree, there is that stuff. So I was very inspired by this film, and I've decided to make an exercise. Well, I've never went to a film school, so everything that I'm making is sort of an exercise. Lolita musical was not a film; it was an exercise on editing transitions. And this time I decided to exercise myself in a different ways. There is some sort of task in film schools when they take a scene from the existing movie and remake it with their budget, with their technical abilities, but they're trying to be as close as they can to the scene from the movie they pick. But in film schools, it's usually the teachers who suggest the films, and or they might be very strict about what films the students can remake, what films they cannot. And since I am my own teacher and I am my own film school, I decided, why not take a Kingsman movie and remake it into a Lolita? And let me show you now the clip called Lolita, the Fashion Service, based on a scene from Kingsman.
And then she came in wearing exactly the same dress.
You know, this is my first meetup, and I never been out just like this before.
Oh, don't worry. Everything will change when you get more brand. Look at that! Is it Halloween already?
Ew! Did you rot your granny's closet?
Girls, we have a rather important conversation. So would you be so kind to leave us in peace until we finish our lovely cakes and tea?
Why don't you get your frilly ass out of here? Because this is our table.
Yes, we should go.
You go and leave your bag. And we'll have a chat with your lessee friend.
Lace. Lightens. Lady. You don't know much about fashion, do you? Then let me teach you a lesson. Are we gonna stand around here all day? Or are we gonna fight? So, where are we? Oh, yes, brands.
Liz. Latrons. Lady.
What are you doing?
Nothing, nothing.
So that was it. I think it's not a bad remake, in my humble opinion, and I've shown it to some filmmakers, proper filmmakers, and they said it's okay. So I'm kind of proud of myself and my team in this. And yeah, you have seen the credits, because obviously the scene after credits should be shown. And in the credits, you can see that there are plenty of people working on this story, this scene. And it's always teamwork, no matter what level of filmmaking is performed, no matter what budget, it's always a teamwork. Even my first films were never done without the help of my team. And this quarantine, actually, I tried to make a film without anybody else's assistance. There were mostly inanimate objects in this film. There were no dialogues. There were no like action going on. It was a very calm film, but still, I wasn't able to do the filming done because I was in the frame, and it was hard to achieve without assistance. So I had my sister helping me, and I had my boyfriend helping me with the sound. So it was a teamwork even when I was filming all by myself in quarantine. And in big projects like Kingsman, in big films, it's very crucial to have a great team. And let me introduce to you some members of my team, because I think they're worth it. They deserve to be mentioned. They are just amazing. You can see in the speak that everyone in the speak actually are the members of Lolita community. Even those hooligan girls, the gang girls, are actually Lolitas that I've met during some tea parties or meetups, and we're all very good friends. So let me introduce some of them to you. So in our community, Russian Moscow community of Lolitas, we have plenty of people. They have multiple skills. They are very talented. And here is the actress who performed the role of Harry from Kingsman. Let's call her Harriet, the character. And there are also amazing people who are always nearby the Lolita community. They are not really Lolitas themselves, but they are helping, they are taking pictures, they are interested in being with Lolitas, nearby Lolitas. And there are plenty of different specialities, different professionals even. We have photographers, we have sound producers, we have musicians, we have makeup artists that are capable of doing professionally very different tasks, and they're interested in doing something greater than the average normality, let's call it this way. So they kindly agreed to participate in my works. They're worth all the praise that we have. And the one thing that made me very curious is that in Russia we have so many cool Lolita brands. They are indie designers, they are indie creators, and they are making such good quality items, very unique in design, very beautiful, very interesting. And none of them is like a very well known among the normal fashion community. So I think they all deserve it, but somehow they're famous among the Lolita community. And that's probably what we in Russia call the strictness of our laws is compensated by non-binding nature of the implementation, because it's easier to be a small creator, it's easier to start your job, business, your work without being noticeable to higher instances. But it's hard to get to the top. It's almost impossible because there is no correlation between talent and the amount of money you are getting. So we have a lot of highly skilled, highly talented amateurs, and very, very few professionals who deserve to be called professional. And this is probably my luck to know all of these beautiful people who are creating astonishing things and who are in the same community as I am and who are sharing the ideas that I have. So I'm eternally grateful to all of them. There are people with so many talents, not just making clothes, not just drawing, not just singing, dancing, but they have multiple of them. They can make clothes and be a perfect, highly skilled assistant. They can craft some things from scratch, from dirt, from nothing, to have a very beautiful things, physical things, creative things. So our community, I think, is a very unique group of people. And it's not just 1, 2, or 3, or 10. It's like tens and hundreds of people that are very skilled, very enthusiastic towards interesting stuff. And this is why I'm very, very, very lucky to know all these people and to have them by my side. So the next story I would like to tell you is about my latest film that is currently in production. And it's a very long story. It's a very long road to this film, because the idea about making something bigger, not just a short film, not just a YouTube film, but something greater, like a feature film, was sitting in my head for a very long time. And I think it started in 2017, when I moved to Moscow. I was born in a small town near Moscow, and then I got a job and moved to the center of Moscow. It was a very interesting period of time when I was constantly inspired by anything, even though I was living in a tiny, tiny room in a very old, very dirty flat in a very old house. Everything was inspiring. The historical building next door was inspiring. The graffiti on the walls of Moscow Zoo were inspiring. Even the kitchen and the bathroom in my flat were, I don't think they were cleaned in at least 50 years. The paint on the walls were scratching and falling apart, but it still was the most inspiring thing of my environment at that time. So the ideas were buzzing in my head, and I was trying to find a way to turn them into something. And at that moment, I've read the book by Robert Rodriguez about his experience of making a feature film without a big budget, without a big crew. He was making a film called Musician in Mexico, and he has some connections there. He has a friend who had a camera, he had a friend who was acting, but it still was a very limited crew. And this book was so inspiring to me. It was such an impulse to do something. And I realized that if Rodriguez, without a crew, could have made a film, imagine what can I do with all those talented people that I have by my side, that I've already shown you. It's just blown my mind, and I've instantly imagined what type of film can I do, what type of story can I tell. And about, I think it was December of 2017 or January of 2018, I invited my friends to start a discussion, and luckily they said yes. They are willing to take part in such an risky project, because, well, filming a feature film without a budget is a very risky situation. It's not 2 days of filming, it's not 4 days of filming, it's months and months and months, with some intervals, of course, not non-stop, but it's still a lot of work. It's a whole new level. So Alex Perideri, my friend who is also a Lolita, she played the role of the main villain in Kingsman video. She's also a professional writer. She has several books printed and published. So we've started working on a screenplay, and by that time it was called Creative Technology, which has nothing to do with the real film. But this is how we start developing the story of Anya and the Magic Squad. So somehow we managed to finish filming, and this film is now in post-production. We are working on it since summer 2018, and it's still a lot of work to do, but we are getting there. So let's maybe watch a clip, a trailer of this upcoming feature film with all of those beautiful people that I've shown you. They took part in some places, in some ways in this film. Let's play a clip called Anya and the Magic Squad trailer.
Это я, Аня. Мне не очень повезло в жизни, но я верю, что со мной обязательно случится что-нибудь необыкновенное.
Чудес не бывает, козявка.
Да, как видите, не все разделяют мои мечты. А это еще кто?
Я пришла позвать тебя с собой в волшебный мир.
Вау! Вот бы остаться здесь навсегда.
Обычная ж? Нет, 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 нет. Ни в коем случае.
О-хо-хо-хо! Теперь Лия сама принесет мне все, что я захочу, на блюдечке.
Мир больших людей, но робкий, миг больших надежд, но ломкий. Удержать все очень сложно и невозможно убежать. Словно дети сказки верят, мир чудес и грез безмерный. И закрыв глаза, блуждают в пустоте.
Святые панталоны. Что же дальше будет?
And yeah, that was it. That's the project that is currently in progress and it's taking all of my time and all of my thoughts. But hopefully we'll get there and we'll have it finished. And I think it's time for your questions. I need to take headphones.
Nope, that was not the way I wanted to do that. We'll do it this way. Hi everyone, it's Disembodied Alexis here to help with questions, so please post your questions in the chat. I was really excited for this panel, Molly, so thank you so much. I do tech things myself, and I was really impressed with everything.
Thank you.
How did you, how did you get started? But specifically, I'm wondering, like, what kind of equipment did you start with? Like that, one of the films was from 2012. What did you use?
Is it?
It's working, yeah, you're good.
So when I started making my first film, I didn't have any camera or microphone. I didn't have anything, but I had friends who are professional photographers who had a camera that could film videos. And the very first film was made, not film, but video, was made by the camera girl Veronica, and it was her stuff, her equipment. So she did all the technical jobs to make it possible. And it was what made me think that, okay, I have photographers who can film a video, and I can ask them if they don't mind to help me and film everything. And I think in, don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, I purchased my own DSLR camera, Canon 5D Mark II, and a couple of Zeiss lens. So that's what I'm currently using, even for making films, feature films. It's a disaster, but it works.
And we do have some questions coming in now. Sorry, let me scroll back up. How do we support this project? Is there a Kickstarter? And how do we stay up to date on its progress?
Well, I have a Patreon and Ko-Fi, I think, is the site for donations. So you can donate there, and I'll make sure that all of the funds are going to improving the film, because we need to do some visual effects, and visual effects are very expensive. It's almost impossible to have them done for free. All of my actors, all of my crew are not getting anything from working on this film. I don't make money from making these films. I'm investing my own money, and this is probably why it's taking so long, because I need to work on a different job to earn some money to invest them into filmmaking.
Yeah.
So it's hard to find visual effects artists who will be willing to do this for free, even among students. It's almost impossible. So it will require some funds. And color correcting is also tricky. But, well, there is a certain amount of money that can be still needed to finish the production.
Mm-hmm.
And you can donate on Patreon or Ko-Fi. And to keep track with the project, just follow my YouTube and Instagram. I assure you that whenever I have more information about the film, I will certainly post there. I also have a group in VK, which is a Russian social media, but it's all in Russian. So if you want, you can join it in VK. There is a tiny bit more information there than there is in other social media, but it's still pretty much the same everywhere. So whenever it's the new information about the film is here, I will certainly post it on Instagram or YouTube.
Okay, some more questions. How do you choose actors? It seems like many of your friends do a good job of it, and that's not something that comes naturally to many people.
Well, this might be not very polite to say, but one of my friends who is a professional director, who is a playwright, he's doing it full time. It's his paid profession. He said once that a proper director can make an inanimate object act, and a piece of furniture, a tree, whatever. So a good director can find a way to make anything work. But as I said, there are plenty of talented people in our community who have acting skills, who aren't afraid of stage, aren't afraid of camera, because our events are slightly different from the events in Europe. I haven't been to an event in USA, but in Europe it's mostly fashion shows, and that's about it. In Russia we have contests, and we have a contest of just outfits, where you show outfit, and that's all. We also have an action défilé, where we can show a small plot, a small story, wearing Lolitas. It can be dancing, it can be short play, it can be anything with a plot. So you need a certain amount of acting. You need to have a stage performance, stage feeling, sort of thing. So this is maybe why we have so many talented people who can have an ability to act. This is one of the reasons. And For the Onion and Magic Squad, we had a very weird and very strict casting. So there are real actors or acting students. When we started filming, they were students, and now they're actual actors. So it's different every time. I just feel that the character has vibes. And also, since I'm a screenwriter, I can always fix the screen to fit the actor. Sometimes they gave me ideas on what the character would say. If the dialogue doesn't work for them, they suggest some ideas how to fix it. And sometimes they're very good ideas, sometimes they're genius ideas. So it's always a collaboration. It's not a strict process like professional big cinema has. They have the script confirmed, they can't change it. Then they have actors confirmed, they can't change it. And we're more flexible in many ways. And somehow it works.
Somebody else did ask about how do you direct, but you've basically answered that. But is there anything else you want to say about directing?
Well, it's a way of trials and errors every time. The hardest part for me is not directing, it's producing. Because when you are producing something, you can't direct at the same time. It's, I don't know, it's probably different parts of brain involved. So when you are producing, you can't direct. When you're directing, you can't produce. So it's very complicated sometimes when you need both at the same time.
For sure.
The hardest part of indie movie making.
And are you also involved in the editing process? We have a question about editing here.
Yes, I'm editing myself.
Oh, beautiful. So we have a question about tips for filming full body, and how do I keep my video quality decent, and what video editor apps do you like to use?
A full body. If you are speaking about blogging and filming for a blog, the full body picture, don't be afraid to film a vertical video. When you are restricted with the place in your room or your flat or whenever you are, don't be afraid of filming vertical video. I have a video on my channel from Paris. It was a trip to Paris, and I took a friend who was a photographer who had a camera, and I was filming on his camera all the things that were happening there, and we visited a Lolita event as well, and some locations were very crowded, and it was hard to film a full body shot without getting too many people into the frame. So I've decided to take a vertical video to turn the camera, and I just put 3 copies of each video when it's vertical and painted them in different colors, and it was a creative type of thing. So it made video better. Don't be afraid to turn your camera vertically. You can always invent something to fill in the frame, and you will have a full body shot without getting too many messy details into the frame. And about the editing, I use Sony Vegas 13. It's a very old program. I think I'm very dinosaur here, but it's comfortable for me. I don't like Adobe Premiere. I haven't tried Avid. Is it pronounced Avid?
Oh,
Avid?
yeah. I'm not sure actually. Avid or Ovid, but I know what you're
Well,
talking about.
that's a professional software
Yeah,
that
it's so
proper
expensive.
filmmakers use. But I think I don't need that much of complex things to edit, so I'm okay with Sony Vegas. There is also DaVinci Resolve, which is a great tool for both editing and color correcting, and it's great because it's free, so you can download it and try it if you're interested. I don't use apps in like on my mobile phone. I do everything on computer, so that's how I do it.
Let's see what else. And oh, everybody is dropping the links to the editing software into the chat. I personally use Adobe Premiere, but that's the first one that I learned. Well, technically I learned on Windows Movie Maker, but then I went to Premiere, so that's what I am comfortable with myself. Let's see here. Oh, working on a film is a huge project. Is it hard to find people to help you? Is it all about networking?
Well, the reason why I started making a feature film is because I had a lot of people that I could get involved in this project. So without those people, I would never start a project. If I didn't know how to find people, it's impossible. It's impossible to do it on your own. You need people. So it's usually about having a group of people that are always with you and supporting you, and they have some connections that they know the person who is doing something. So I'll give you the contact, and you can contact that person, and this is how it's happening. When we were filming Anya and the Magic Squad, the crazy luck was happening. I don't know how it could possibly happen, but when we were doing the casting there are a lot of kids involved in this film, and we were testing some young actors for the roles, and one of the girls, her grandmother was a CEO of a television company in a in a small town near Moscow. And when we were lacking locations, she offered us a cinema, a real 500 seats cinema for free. So I don't know how that happened, but that's how we made pretty much everything. There was somebody who knows somebody who has some connections, who have some stuff to share. That's it.
That's all the questions I see right now. Do you have anything else that you didn't get a chance to talk about yet?
Probably a lot, because I was too nervous at the beginning of this panel. But I don't think it's too important.
Here we go. Do you have a dream project?
Of course, but I won't tell. I also have dream actors to work with. Hugh Jackman, for example. Who knows? Can you imagine Hugh Jackman wearing aristocrat?
Oh my gosh.
Wodgy? That would be fun.
Oh, it's like we almost got there in Les Mis, but not quite.
And in The Greatest Showman.
Yes,
but
yes.
Not exactly.
Oh, they dropped the link. Well, I personally would love to know about your lighting equipment, like intro level lighting equipment.
Well, for now, I have just one softbox lighting me, and this is just normal lighting in my bedroom. But I don't know, just sunlight is the best light. If you don't know how to film a scene, sunlight.
Yeah.
Then I have some halogen lights. They are not actually filmmaking lights, but they are construction lights. They're inexpensive and easy to find, but they're helpful when you're filming something in a big area because they are very bright. And softbox are great. I don't really like ring lights because, well,
Yeah.
they're not serious.
Yeah.
Can be helpful for makeup, close-ups, and fashion type of thing, but I personally don't like them.
Yeah, I agree. They have a use, but it's not necessarily filmmaking.
Yeah.
Question, if you're willing to share, if you could get a famous Lolita model to be in your films, who would you choose?
Akira. She is very keen to experiments. I've met her at, I think it was Amsterdam event, and we had one of my friends suggested to do a cabedon, and Akira agreed, and then everybody else in this room started to do cabedons with Akira, and I thought I'm not a fan of cabedons, but I suggested that we make a fun parody on cabedon when Aristocrat is pushing towards Lolita, and Lolita is like, I don't want that. What? And Akira was kindly agreed to that and said, okay, it's fun. And we had a very joking, funny shot. So I think she has a very nice artistic qualities. Modeling is different from acting, and modeling should look pretty in static, when acting is mostly dynamic. So I don't know if models are best candidates to play a role in a film.
Yeah, that makes sense. But that's a great story. That sounds like so much fun. Well, if anybody else has a question, drop it in the chat. I was also interested, you were saying that the standard type of meet in Russia is like a performance competition? Is that
It's
right?
not a meet, it's an event.
Oh,
We have
okay,
Gothic
I'm
and
sorry.
Lolita Festival, and before we had a specific festival for street fashion and Lolitas, we had several other anime cons, anime and J-rock cons, where there was a contest for Lolitas for the best outfit and performance. So I think the most famous J-rock convention in Moscow, it's now having a street fashion nomination, but it used to be Lolita nomination, and they have 3 prizes: one for the best act, one for the best performance, and one for the best outfits. So it's always some sort of creativity below and above the standard level of Lolita fashion.
Got it. Okay. And that makes sense that it was tied to anime and J-rock conventions, because those kinds of things happen at anime conventions in the US. I'm not the most into the Lolita scene. I'm sort of casually, and I'm learning so much doing these tech things. So I don't know of any Lolita performance events in the U.S. So I assume they're not common. Somebody in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong. And now we're taking notes and planning for our own sorts of things because that sounds really great. Okay, well, we do have a few more minutes if there's anything else that you want to talk about, Molly, but we can also wrap it up if we've come to the end of our topics. Oh, wait, okay. One slight correction. Yes, Paradiso's OG Prince contest is very much on those lines. There is one convention that has a specifically Prince contest where you wear an OG coordinate, and then you are in character as a prince.
Oh, that's interesting. And we are in Russia. We are not restricted on the topics. We can choose any topic. And once again, about Russian laws, they're strict on paper and not really strict in real life. So the how to say it, creative rights are not very important when you are organizing a convent in Russia. So we can use pretty much any music. We can take pretty much any images, videos, and show it during the performance. This can be easy for small creators to try and learn and experiment. But this, I don't think it could possibly happen on a higher levels when you're somehow aiming to be a professional.
Right. Oh, here's a fun question. What misconceptions about Russian and European Lolitas do you think American Lolitas have?
Not sure if it's a misconception, but we recently discussed in our Russian community that some YouTuber, I don't remember who exactly it was, had a questionnaire about the most popular substyle of Lolita, and in Russia it was said that it's sweet Lolita, but in fact we had this questionnaire in our Russian community, and classic Lolita won, and the second place was Gothic Lolita. So there are not that many sweet Lolitas. There are some, but there are not many. And classic and Gothic or something in between is prevalent.
Okay. Yeah, wow. They were very wrong. Sweet wasn't even the top two. Well, Molly, thank you so much for this panel and for all of your films.
Thank you for having me. It was a very interesting experience. Thank you for helping.
Of course. I, for one, am going to go to your YouTube after this event is all over and watch all your videos.
Thank you.
And reminder to everyone, we've been putting links in the chat so you can also check out Molly's various social media, Patreon, Ko-Fi, etc. All right. Anything else?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Well, thanks, Molly. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Stay tuned. In about 20 minutes, we're going to have Kawaii Riot Empathy 101 right here on twitch.tv/jfashionondemand. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.